Tomorrow in algebra we're taking a test. We're taking a test that's going to cover solving quadratics, and we're going to do this by factoring for the most part. There's going to be a couple times where you just take square roots, but mostly we're going to be solving quadratics. Today is mostly a review on solving quadratics, so I'll do a couple problems, homework problems on solving quadratics in just a second. What I want to talk about first, though, we're going to look at this thing called completing the square in a few days. And so I said today, and we took a few minutes off to look at what is a perfect square binomial. A perfect square binomial is a binomial that, well, it's perfect square, x plus 3 squared. When you multiply something like this out, you get x squared plus 6x plus 9. What we did is we said, okay, I'm going to take a quadratic, x squared plus 8x, and I want to make this a perfect square trinomial. So it'll factor into a perfect square binomial. So what we do is we're going to go, okay, I want this to factor is so that it gives me something x plus or minus something squared. Well, it turns out the way I can do that is if I take half of this number, 8 divided by 2, and square it. 8 divided by 2 is 4, 4 squared is 16, so I add 16 to both sides. Does this give me a perfect square trinomial? Yeah. 16 divided by 6 squared root of 16 is 4, and if you multiply this back out, you get x squared plus 8x plus 16. We did a couple of examples like this. Here's one that's off your homework, r squared plus 4r plus, and it says, it puts an in here, it says fill in this guy. We'll just fill it in. If I want to fill that guy in and make it a perfect square trinomial, take half of this, 4 divided by 2, and square it. 4 divided by 2 is 2, 2 squared is 4. Factor that thing, r plus 2 squared. They gave you all even numbers on this problem, so what we're going to do is I'll show you one more off tonight's homework, and then I'm going to let this be, mostly because this shouldn't be too big a deal. If I want to make this a perfect square, divide by 2, 18 over 2 is 9, squared is 81, so I'm going to add 81. When I factor that, p plus 9 squared. And that's how you complete the square. Rather, that's how you make a perfect square binomial. We're going to use that as we start completing the square in the next week. But for now, that's all we need to know. I will do a couple of your homework problems on solving quadratics now. They shouldn't be too big a deal, so we'll look at some of these. How about 39? 39 says 4 equals 9k squared. 4 equals 9k squared. This is a perfect square. What I want to do is I'm going to get rid of this and get 4 over 9 equals k squared, and now take the square root of both sides. You can, on any of these problems, put it all on the same side and try and factor it. That's fine. In this problem, I just saw that if I got rid of that 9, this would be a perfect square on this side, the k squared. I get a perfect square over here, the 4 over 9, and I take the square root. If I can do that, I'm going to. If I don't see that, obviously, then I'll move everything to the same side and factor. So like on a problem like this, which is 40, 4n squared equals 64. Again, I see that if I divide both sides by 4, I'll get a perfect square on both sides. So I'm going to do this. N squared equals 16. Square root, n equals plus or minus 4. Notice I'm getting 2 solutions to each of these problems because it's quadratic. I should get 2 solutions. Let's look at something like 42. 5x squared minus 10x equals 0. When I look at this problem, I don't have a perfect square situation going on like I did on either 39 or 40. So what I'm going to do is I'm just trying to factor this, and look, there's a GCF, so I'm going to take that out. 5x times x minus 2 equals 0. Zero product property says 5x equals 0 or x minus 2 equals 0. And that means x equals 0 or x equals 2, and there's my 2 solutions. I'll do one more, but this really shouldn't be that hard. Your test will look similar to this tomorrow. 44, 2x squared plus 5x equals 3. This is a quadratic. If I'm going to solve a quadratic, is it in standard form? This isn't, so I'm going to put it in standard form. 2x squared plus 5x minus 3 equals 0. This one's a little bit harder, so I'm going to make my binomials. I know whatever goes here and whatever goes here has to multiply and give me 2x squared, so it's going to be a 2x and an x. The numbers that go here are going to be a 3 and a 1 somehow. One's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. Knowing that I have to get a 5, I'm going to put a 3 here and a minus 1 here, because 2 times 3 is 6, minus 1 times x is negative 1, 6 minus 1 is 5. zero product property, because I've got this fact but I haven't actually solved it yet. Zero product property says 2x minus 1 equals 0, or x plus 3 equals 0. This means x equals 1/2 and x equals -3. I believe you will be able to figure out the rest of this homework by yourself. It should not be that hard. Test tomorrow on solving quadratics.